السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله المنعم المفضل الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. سبحانك يا ربنا لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيد الأولين والآخرين وقائد الغر المحجلين وشفيع المذنبين وسيد ولد آدم أجمعين معلم الخير وقائد الخير ورسول الرحمة. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله الغر الميامين وأصحابه نجوم الدين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعلى معهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم ألهمنا رشدنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Firstly, speak about technical matter, as perhaps some of you people, they have the experience before. I'm going to read the Arabic text, then have translation from some of our brothers, and then I'll try to have some commentary, about these ahadith. The second point, I love when you have good start, okay, and these verses, from Surah Al Imran, the end of Al Imran, really they shake my heart, a lot, because just they reminded me that the Muslims in this, when they were revealed, physically, they were perhaps at the lowest point, they were defeated. Some of the Muslims, they were defeated. Some of them, they were killed. Some of them, they were injured back, But I think spiritually, they were at the top, or summit, or one of those highest point, that they have in their life. And as it was recited, these verses, the one who understand the Arabic text, all of the facts mentioned there, it's related to this life. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to have the connection, to have it interpreted, or understood according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instruction. Okay? And that's why it started by إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Who are they? الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا. I did see in such a start, inshallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us, is going to match what we want to read. We are going to read something physical, okay, something materialistic. We spoke about ijaza, we spoke about everything, but I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us with significant spiritual high level, in dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, relating ourselves, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is, if I don't exaggerate, this is my main purpose, of such a gathering, Perhaps the other, they may have different interests, but this is my main interest, and that's why really I was amazed, by these verses which we started, and they ended by this verse, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ. Okay, and it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is too close to us, too near to us, and the problem is our problem. We are not like the companion. We are not like the righteous people. Why? Not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed his attitude, because we changed our attitude, because we tend to have much more confidence in many matters, than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be much more knowledgeable about certain matters than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be much more interested in certain matters, than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what I understand from the verses which were read, that you should have everything in this life, everything come across you, to relate it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and find the action of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hopefully, these actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to tell us about the holy names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which most of them, they have been derived from the Holy Quran, and the holy names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to lead us to have better knowledge, of the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we are going to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for different levels, of our knowledge, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this text, is one of the most helpful thing, to achieve this, That's why it's written by a famous sheikh, who was well known of his knowledge, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I want to add another point on it, sorry, I'm going to make it as short as I can, that particular sheikh, one of his skills, what we call in Arabic jam'iyya, or in English, to have massive concentration. Okay, we are here for only 2 days. If we have the ability, to have this massive concentration, don't think about the outsider, don't think about your children, don't think about your money. Inshallah, they are going to be kept much more than yourself, because they are under the supervision and observation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we concentrate in these matters, which is, for me, I'm speaking about myself, the one of our main determinant, of our career, and future, inshallah, I don't look at heaven, or paradise as something, unachievable or difficult. No, inshallah, all of you people, they are going to be in the heaven, or in paradise. But the matter, the significant difference that you have among people, in that particular great place, it is great place because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described it as such. Okay, and as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did say, وَلَلْآخِرَةُ أَكْبَرُ دَرَجَاتٍ وَأَكْبَرُ تَفْضِيلًا, and inshallah, by such a gathering or meeting will upgrade ourselves, and make us much more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm not exaggerating, but I said, if we start our no relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from such programs, this is very good idea. So that's why I said it yesterday, I'm going to repeat it today. I want from myself, and from erase everything in your mind, about this ahadith. Even many of your people, they have heard, some of these ahadith, and try to understand it as a new experience, not something new to relate yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After this introduction, inshallah, we'll start with the Arabic text. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. قال العبد الفقير إلى الله تعالى محمد بن علي بن محمد بن العربي الطائي الحاتمي الأندلسي ختم الله له بالحسنى. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على محمد سيد العالمين وعلى آله الطاهرين وأصحابه والتابعين وجميع المؤمنين. أما بعد، فإني لما وقفت على قوله عليه الصلاة والسلام من حفظ على أمة 40 حديثا من السنة كنت له شفيعا يوم القيامة. Then let's start with the isnad. أخبرنا به this is the isnad of that particular hadith. أخبرنا به أبو الحسن علي بن أبي الفتح بن يحيى المعروف والده بالكناري بالموصل. أخبرنا أبو الفضل عبد الله بن أحمد الطوسي عن أبيه أحمد عن أبي محمد الفضل بن محمد بن عبيد النيسابوري عن أبي سعيد عبد الرحمن بن حمدان بن محمد النصراوي عن أبي عمرو محمد بن أحمد بن حمدان بن علي الحيري عن أبي العباس الحسن بن سفيان بن عامر الشيباني. أخبرنا علي بن حجر. أخبرنا إسحاق بن نجيح عن ابن جريج عن عطاء بن أبي رباح عن ابن عباس قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وذكر الحديث وبهذا الإسناد أيضا إلى أبي العباس الشيباني قال أخبرنا حميد عن الحجاج بن نصير. أخبرنا حفص بن جميح عن أبان عن أنس بن مالك قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من حفظ على أمتي 40 حديثا مما يحتاجون إليه كتبه الله فقيها عالما. ولما كان الإنسان بآخرته التي فيها معاده أحوج منه إلى دنياه جمعت هذه 40 بمكة حرسها الله تعالى في شهور سنة 99 و500 وشرطت فيها أن تكون من الأحاديث المسندة إلى الله تعالى خاصة what we call it by term nowadays الأحاديث القدسية. وربما أتبعتها 40 عن الله تعالى مرفوعة إليه غير مستندة إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، مما رويتها وقيدتها ثم أردفتها ب21 حديثا، فجاءت 100 حديث إلهية. والله ينفعنا بالعلم وإياكم وجعلنا من أهله بمنه ويمنه، فهو على كل شيء قدير.
Preface. In the name of God, the all-compassionate, the most merciful. And may the blessing of God be upon our Master Muhammad, his family, and his companions, and peace be upon them all. The servant who is in utter need of God, Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Muhammad ibn al-Arabi al-Ta'i al-Hazimi al-Andalusi, may God seal him with the best of outcomes, says, Praise be to God, Lord of the universes, who is the ultimate reward for those who fear him. There is no power nor might save in God, the high, the magnificent. May blessings and peace be upon Muhammad, master of the universes, upon his family, the pure ones, and upon his companions, followers, and all believers. According to Ibn Abbas, the messenger of God, may God give him blessings and peace, said, Whoever preserves for my community 40 hadith of the Sunnah, I shall be his intercessor on the day of resurrection. According to Anas ibn Malik, the messenger of God, may God give him blessings and peace, also said, Whoever preserves for my community 40 hadith of which they stand in need, God shall put him down as learned and knowing. Having come to know these words of the Prophet, and taking into account that man stands more in need of the other world, which is the place of his return, than this world, I collected these 40 hadith at Mecca, may God protect it, during the months of the year 599. I took it as criterion that they be hadith with a chain of transmission going directly back to God, ever exalted is He. These are followed by 40 others, equally going back to God, but with a chain of transmission through the messenger of God, may God bless him and give him peace. And these have been selected from the ones which I have passed on orally and recorded in writing. These I have then completed with 21 further hadith, making a total of 101 divine hadith. May God profit us and you with knowledge. May He make us one of His people by His grace and His favor, for He is powerful over all things.
We'll start with the first hadith, the chain. For sure in English translation, you don't have the translation of the chain. I think it's a very good idea because these are names, and the one who is interested, he may read them in Arabic, because no need of having translation of such names. الحديث الأول حدثنا محمد بن قاسم قال حدثنا أبو طاهر أحمد بن محمد قال حدثنا أبو عبد الله الحسين وعلي الطبري عن أبي الحسين عبد الغافر بن محمد عن أبي أحمد الجلودي عن إبراهيم حدثنا مسلم. This is the famous man, of the Sahih Muslim. This is Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj, and you have the famous narrator of his, who is Ibrahim al-Naysaburi. حدثنا مسلم قال حدثنا عبد الله بن عبد الرحمن بن بهرام الدارمي قال حدثنا المرواني عن ابن محمد الدمشقي قال حدثنا سعيد بن عبد العزيز عن ربيعة بن يزيد عن أبي إدريس الخولاني عن أبي ذر عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيما روى عن الله تبارك وتعالى أنه قال يا عبادي إني حرمت الظلم على نفسي وجعلته بينكم محرما فلا تظالموا. يا عبادي كلكم ضال إلا من هديته فاستهدوني أهدكم يا عبادي كلكم جائع إلا من أطعمته فاستطعموني أطعمكم يا عبادي كلكم عار إلا من كسوته فاستكسوني أكسكم يا عبادي إنكم تخطئون بالليل والنهار وأنا أغفر الذنوب جميعا فاستغفروني أغفر لكم يا عبادي إنكم لن تبلغوا ضري فتضروني ولن تبلغوا نفعي فتنفعوني يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم كانوا على أتقى قلب رجل واحد منكم ما زاد ذلك في ملكي شيئا يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم كانوا على أفجر قلب رجل واحد منكم ما نقص ذلك من ملكي شيئا يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم قاموا في صعيد واحد فسألوني فأعطيت كل إنسان مسألته ما نقص ذلك مما عندي إلا كما ينقص المخيط إذا أدخل البحر يا عبادي إنما هي أعمالكم أحصيها لكم ثم أوفيكم إياها فمن وجد خيرا فليحمد الله ومن وجد غير ذلك فلا يلومن إلا نفسه.
First Hadith. According to Abu Dhar, the Prophet, may God give him blessings and peace, said, reporting the words of God, ever praised and exalted is He. O my servants, I have forbidden injustice to myself, and I have made it forbidden amongst you, so be not unjust to one another. O my servants, all of you go astray except the one whom I guide. Ask guidance of me, and I shall guide you. O my servants, all of you go hungry except the one whom I feed. Ask me for food, and I shall feed you. O my servants, all of you go naked except the one whom I clothe. Ask me for clothing, and I shall clothe you. O my servants, you transgress by day and night, but I forgive all misdeeds. Ask forgiveness of me, and I shall forgive you. O my servants, harming me is beyond you, so you cannot harm me, and benefiting me is beyond you, so you cannot benefit me. O my servants, if all of you, first and last, man and jinn, were like the one among you with the most devout heart, that would add nothing to my kingdom. O my servants, if all of you, first and last, man and jinn, were like the one among you with the most ungodly heart, that would take nothing away from my kingdom. O my servants, if all of you, first and last, man and jinn, were to stand on the same level and address me with your requests, and if I were to give each one what he had requested, that would not diminish what is with me, any more than a needle diminishes the sea when it enters it. O my servants, it is solely your deeds that I take account of, and it is by virtue of them that I will repay you. So let him who finds good praise God, and let him who finds other than that hold none but himself to blame.
I look at this particular hadith. Firstly, that shame, has been declared by some of the scholars, in hadith that as the strongest and most authentic chain, in the Syrian people, among the Syrian people. Okay, those who narrate this hadith include Abu Idris al-Khawlani, who used to sit down on his knees, and try to show the physical apparent, etiquette, towards such a hadith. And really, this is the least thing, which may be done, for this particular hadith. I see the honor of it, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala address us, by the first of each paragraph as, oh my, okay? Just put many lines, under my servant, I would like myself, to attach this statement, Ya ibadi, to what we read in the Holy Quran, okay? To have, enjoy our time, being the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is my best description I may have PhD, I may have this, I may be highly respected, by my community or whatever, but the most important honor that I achieve in this life to be the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? And that's why one of the famous lovers and knowledgeable in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what they narrated, I don't know how did they get it, when he was put in his grave and he was asked by the two angels, Munkar and Nakir, who is your Lord? What did he say? He said, you ask me about my Lord? I spend all of my life, burning myself, to my Lord. Go and ask him, does he accept me as his slave or his servant? Okay, this is the whole point, behind it. And this is, we gained it, without anything, any initiation from our side, without any work, even though in my mind, you don't have any work, that you deserve to be called, by Allah Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or my servant, okay? And that's why the best among us, those who have the complete feeling, of this, get themselves, involved in this matter, and try to hear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this clear-cut message coming from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and try to work according to it. And this, it speaks about different subjects, but I think all subjects has been mentioned in such a great hadith, it's related to our life. Okay, how to deal with it, how to relate everything in our life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Start by unjust. Why? Because many, with few exceptions, they will be unjust for the others for what? For their purpose, for their benefit, okay? Which has been explained later on, by eating, by having clothes, and having forgiveness, and be superior than the others, All of these matter, they are provided from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why no point of being unjust, for these matters. And even in my mind, I'm not going to explain it, thoroughly, You have the most fair people, They are going to be too unjust, for what they felt, that this is their benefit, or this is their aim, or this is their target. And they did not do it for me, They did it for the best creation ever, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You read it, in the Seerah. You read it in Surah Al-Baqarah. You read it in Surah Al-Imran. How they bypass the Prophet ﷺ, not because he is liar, not because he is not honest, not because of this, not because of that, only because they have been honored, by these people, and they felt, which is completely wrong, that the Prophet ﷺ is going to take away this from them, The Prophet ﷺ was the best one or the most one, to deliver the what we call khair, or the goodness, to everyone, and make him upgraded, make him closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we should be too proud of the two components that we have. Okay, the first component, that we are the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the second one, that our messenger, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's what has been summarized, by that poet when he said, وَمِمَّا زَادَنِي شَرَفًا وَتِيهًا وَكِدْتُ بِأَخْمَصِ أَطَأُ الثُّرَيَّا دُخُولِي تَحْتَ قَوْلِكَ يَا عِبَادِي here. And وَأَنْ صَيَّرْتَ أَحْمَدَ لِي نَبِيًّا. That's mean I'm going to be too proud. I'm going to show myself, not myself, but this is related to the gift, significant gift given to me from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the other significant gift, that I am the follower of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm sorry to tell you, nowadays, in the practice, many of us, they feel ashamed, of this, try to bypass it, try to find other things, which, what's it going to do for us, Firstly, we are not happy. Okay. Secondly, we are going to feel ourselves down. Thirdly, okay, we are going to miss the goodness, okay? Because what did the Prophet ﷺ say? He said that which for me, it sounds impossible, but I believe in it, The Prophet ﷺ did say, there's nothing of the goodness without be clarified by me. And nothing of the evil doing, without clarifying it by me. Okay? That's me. We should be proud of it, Myself, I may not be that good person, to practice all of these matters, but I am too rich. Why I'm too rich? Because I have, either in my bucket or in my book or in my heart or this or that, okay, we have the most important regulation to make the person or the humankind the happiest, in this life. And here in this such great hadith, you have those has been highlighted. And the first one was what? Not to be unjust, okay? And this is perhaps the main problem, that we suffer from it, because many of us, even though they are too fair, they are too good, they have good character or whatever, they are going to be unjust for very silly purpose, because they feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in need of them and is going to steal it from them, or the Prophet sallallahu is going to do as such, which is completely wrong. And that's why, for myself, I'm going to tell myself, I should have complete change, in my understanding, in my attitude toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, toward His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it in a very opposite way of what we understand. If you need feeding, the only one to feed you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? If you need some clothes, to cover up your aura, the only one provider of it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before this, I'm sorry, I spoke about the physical thing, spoke about the spiritual matter, which is one of the most important things in our life. If we need guidance, the only one to guide you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then it spoke about our deficiency, about our reality. Okay, we are humankind, we are sinners, we are going to commit a lot of sins, we are not going to be like angels, toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His generosity, is going to forgive many of matters, to be honest with you. I'm going to forget many of them, but they are not going to be forgotten, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are, according to our sophisticated way now, they may be recorded, they may be photographed, for sure they have much more sophisticated way of reminding, of what you have forgotten, and I have committed, I'm speaking about us, I have committed against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It starts from my heart, when I have bad thoughts, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really, to be honest with you, I have in my life sometimes bad thoughts, not about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but bad expectation, bad thoughts, and you are going to find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to change it dramatically, with unexpected way. And this is the way that I look forward, to deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. Because really, I'm going to have my level of thought, my level of expectation, my level of experience. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to show me, in all of these events, which took place in my life, that He is much more superior than my expectation and whatever. And in the hereafter, you are going to find it much more, than this life. Okay? And that's what Imam Malik, when he passed out, before his death, and when he opened his eyes, what did he say? إِنَّكُمْ سَتُعَايِنُونَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَخْطُرُ لَكُمْ عَلَى بَالٍ. You are going to observe of the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which never expected by any one of your people, And that's why those people, great people, they said you should, and this is mentioned as hadith, you shouldn't pass away, without have the highest, the largest thought, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we look at this long hadith, which I love it a lot, if you want to summarize it, You summarize it, by having high expectation in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Good thought in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is this important for me? Yes, it is too important. Why? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Husnul dhann min husnul ibadah. When you have good thoughts, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are a good worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To be honest with you, a person like me, I'm not good, I'm one of the worst one, in my worship, in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's hope to have some alternative, some substitute of that lack, deficiency that we have, that we are going to cover it, by having good thoughts, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions certain fact, you may translate it as, this is clarification, when you read in Quran, Inna Allah ghaniyyun 'anil 'alamin. That's, if the whole creation, the whole group, they are on the most righteous heart, this is not going to increase the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and vice versa, and you name it, okay? And this is, I would like from myself, I would like from the others, generally speaking, you are going to have summary in Quran, and we are going to have much more details, or much more explanation of the same fact, in the prophetic statement, either comes through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or from himself sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which both of them, they are a direct message, delivered to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You may have, this is the exception, to have it summarized in certain hadith, and we have it in full detail, in the Holy Quran. I look at Hadith Sayyidina Jibreel about Islam, Iman and Ihsan. This is a summary, which has been, has the full detail, for Islam in Surah Al-Baqarah, Al-Imran, Al-Nisa wal-Ma'idah, and for Iman in Surah Al-An'am, and you name it. Okay? You may have it in the opposite. Then you may have it summarized, in one portion in the Quran, and detailed in other portion, or in the Hadith. Okay? So here, I am too silly, I am too not academic, not scientific, when I try just to take one text, and go by it, okay? Just look, we are rich, we are rich in text, we have a plenty of messages, come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Go sit down and study them. Not to sit and speak, la hawla la quwwata illa, to speak to the others, or whatever. No, for your own benefit. Get it, to get much more knowledge, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To relate yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To have good thoughts, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To be familiar, We have a future, We as Muslims, we believe that this life, it's a stage, one of our stages, It's not the end of the story. Then we have another stage, you may call it grave stage or barzakh or whatever, and the best among us, those who are quite familiar with this, and you have many of the verses, the Quran, many of the prophetic statements, they speak about that stage, which if I kept thinking, about it, I don't know anything about it. Even if I live for thousands and thousands of years, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it quite available, and easy for me by this way that has been explained in the Holy Quran and in the prophetic statement. Then you have the other stage, which is the end stage, inshallah all of you people will go to heaven, and you will be familiar with many of those items, many of these matters that you are going to face in the hereafter. Just I give this example, for myself, at this time. If they ship me, to an island, and on the earth, no iPhone there, no currency, no language, I cannot communicate with anyone, Is this going to be similar to the person who has some communication, has some idea? Okay, we as Muslims, we believe that we are going to be moved, from this life to another life. This other life will have complete change, You don't have the current currency that you have here. You don't have the same communication. You don't have the same friend. But I believe you have friends there. You have communication. You have currency. You have many of these matters. You should get yourself, familiar with such a thing, which has been, well prepared, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. Okay, and we should get the maximum of it, and one of the best way to get the maximum of it, or perhaps this is the best way, to have it understood, through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not neglect us or ignore us, no, He sent a lot of messages to make it quite clear to us. After that, if anyone has any question, feel free to write it down. Inshallah, we'll have time for answering some of the questions. I'll move to the second hadith. حدثنا يونس بن يحيى العباسي حدثنا أبو الوقت عبد الأول بن عيسى السجزي حدثنا عبد الأعلى بن عبد الواحد المليحي أو المليحي عن إسماعيل بن إبراهيم عن محمد بن الغطريف عن أبي خليفة الجمحي عن القعنبي عن عبد العزيز الدراوردي عن العلاء عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الله عز وجل أنا أغنى الشركاء عن الشرك فمن عمل عملا أشرك فيه غيري فأنا منه بريء وهو للذي أشرك.
Second hadith, according to Abu Hurairah, the Messenger of God, may God give him blessings and peace, said, God, ever mighty and majestic is He, says, of all the associates, I am the most able to dispense with association. As for him who performs a deed in which there is association with other than me, I am quit of him, and he belongs to what he has associated with me.
This hadith is very important. Firstly, for us, to purify our heart and our aim and our purpose, and it's called in Arabic ikhlas, to be sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and have all of us, come to such a gathering, in this early morning and tomorrow, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for any other sake. Okay. The second point, which I hope that I'm wrong, about it, many Muslims, they feel themselves, they are free from this description, they are involved dramatically, in such a thing, We trust when we are sick, we trust in the medication much more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we are poor, we trust in the money much more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best among us, those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they have end point, and no one is going to help them, in this life. I give it an example, in sickness and disease, when you got sick, I hope, which I don't know if it happened or not, we don't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We go to the first physician, give us medication, he may be successful, he may not be successful. We go to the other one, third one, fourth one, then number 20, then the number 21st, is going to be the most brave one, to tell you, sorry, we don't have cure of your disease. Then what will we do? We remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, I feel ashamed, of saying it, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after this long range, long experience, long trial, trying to find it here or there, It's not available, sorry, it's not available, but it's available with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the first point. If you are a person, who live this life, I'm not telling you don't go to the doctor, but we should remember before going to the first doctor, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is next to you, and He's the only one, to give you the benefit or harm, of this particular matter. It's not a matter of trying everything and leave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the end, And by this, we are not going doing good, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hadith, he said, did say, لا تجعلوني قدح الراكب بأبي وأمي سيدنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Don't make me like قدح الراكب. What is قدح الراكب? In the old days, those caravans, the most important thing, in their traveling, it was water. Okay, and they used to have large container, at the back. Whenever they are in need of it, they may use it. Whenever they are not in need of it, I hate to say this, they splash it on the water, on the floor. And this is our attitude. Now, I'm going to tell you, we have massive opening from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We may forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we eat. We may forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we sleep, very nice sleep, sleep high. Okay? And we forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how did we get here, And in the old days, they have same thing, but they should walk for 2 hours, or 3 hours, How did I get here? To be honest with you, I'm sorry, I feel ashamed of myself. I did not remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I went through a car, I did not remember that. For me, it's natural thing, when we turn it, then the car is going to start. No, this is not natural. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is behind all of these matters, And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the full authority to make it start or not start, okay? When you come to such a hole, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the full authority to, when you turn the button, on, to have the light go on or not. What I'm trying to tell you, I don't want to make it complicated, We are in very sophisticated life. We have massive opening from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is for me. For me is a problem. Why? Because I tend to forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many of those ordinary, usual activities. I just remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I have incurable disease or a dramatic, disaster or whatever. Other than this, I'm not going to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas in the old days, even for the most trivial things, they should remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they have many of those deficiencies, that may not make it work, and they are going to seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, you look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was guaranteed by Allah that he's going to be given the victory during Badr battle. How did he attitude? What was his attitude toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He spent the whole night praying and crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? When the rest of the companions, all of them, they are much better than us, they were sleeping. But he did because he fully understands what that position, what that stand means, what should I do toward it, okay? And this has been summarized, in the Quran. Don't tell me that you don't know it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam 3,000 or 5,000 of the angels. Then what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَمَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بُشْرَى لَكُمْ وَلِتَطْمَئِنَّ قُلُوبُكُمْ بِهِ وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. And those angels, 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, whatever you want to know, they are not going to make victory, for you. Okay? The only one make victory for you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this victory, is not for fighting only. I need this victory, to get over myself, to understand I need the help, for all of our matters, And that's why we have been taught, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say frequently, we say it frequently every day, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, because we seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of those trivial matters that we look at them are ordinary, Perhaps the other than Muslim, they may have it, with very easy way, and without knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you as Muslim, you shouldn't be as such, You should remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of these matters, that you may call them associate or partners, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm sorry to tell you, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clean my heart, But in our hearts, these matters, the partner or associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they occupy much more significant size, of the heart than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He occupy? He occupy our tongue, We are speaking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, but our heart, our aim, our confidence, our interest, and you name it, is going to be completely different than this. And I'm sorry to tell you, nowadays the Muslim became materialistic in that particular point, and that's why I'm sorry to tell you again about it, many of our children or some of our children, hopefully none, they'll become atheists. Because if it's a matter of physical, thing, the others nowadays, which was not the case all the time, you know. Nowadays, they are better than Muslims, physically. But we are better than them spiritually. If the child look at his parents, you know, father or mother, when they miss the prayer, you know, Fajr prayer, so what, you know, Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, okay? But when they cut down their salary, you know, they are going to get angry, you know, and they will not eat, you know, and they will have a complete change in their behavior. They will receive the message, you know, exactly, you know. We feel that they are minor, you know, but they are quite smart, you know, and they are going to receive the message, you know, that you should speak up, you know, about certain issue, you know, and then work for other issues, you know, because this is the life. The life work by this, you know. And some of them who are quite brave, you know, they'll tell you, you know, I'm sorry, I'm atheist, you know, I don't believe in God. Why? Because you, in your life, you did not deliver the message to me, you know, did not give me the point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is available. I'm not going to speak about prophets, I'm not going to speak about companions. I'm going to bring this story which happened here in US, you know, and I heard it in the last visit, okay? A person who was in the prison, you know, and became Muslim in the prison, and he was sent out, you know, from the prison, and he wanted to rent, you know, an apartment, you know, and we have many, I don't know, I'm not familiar with it, you know, many complicated regulation to hire to rent the apartment here. And the manager of that, those group of, he said, I'm not going to rent it to you. And he called his mother, you know, who was not Muslim also and became Muslim. And she spent the whole night crying and begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this criminal person, you know, to hire or to rent that apartment, you know. And in the morning, the manager, he told him, I changed my mind, I'm going to rent this apartment to you. This is not a story, you know, of companion. This is not story. This is story of our time. Why it not happened to me or to many people? Because we don't trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We trust the others, you know, the other factors, the other items, the other things, you know. I hate myself when I speak about them, you know. We trust them much more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is available. Okay, you have many of those unbelievable, you know, stories, you know, it happened in our time. How did it happen, you know? I don't have any explanation to it except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, and the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most important and the only one, okay, in charge, you know, on all of these matters, you know. And we don't tend to forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are going to have good preparation, you know, for anything that we are going to be asked, you know, by X or Y of these people, you know. But we are not going to be ready, you know, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ask yourself, you know, what have you prepared to yourself? You see, we read in Hilyat Abi Nu'aym that when the Prophet ﷺ commanded Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib to do something, what was the answer of Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib? He said in Arabic, Al-Abdu Azim wa ma tawfiqi illa billah. That's me. I am as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and quite determined to do it, Ya Rasulullah. But wa ma tawfiqi illa billah. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to make me successful, it's going to make me successful. It's going to make me fail, you know, in that matter. I'm going to be completely failed, you know, in this. And that's why, those people, you know, they were not angels, they were not any of this type, you know, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them, you know, the full support, you know. You want to call it victory, you want to call it help, you want to call it assistance, whatever you want to call it, you know. They were given this, you know. How long did it take, you know? The Prophet ﷺ show up to a society, you know, which was looked at, you know, in these old days, you know, as one of the lowest one, you know. The Meccan society, you know, was not looked at, you know, by the others as civilized one or whatever, you know. When the Prophet ﷺ did bring the Holy Quran and the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how long did it take, you know, to have this massive money, massive things that we are interested in this life, come to their houses, and to their city, to Medina city. And how long did it take? After the death of the Prophet, it took only 20 years. You read in Sirah, which is, for me, it's impossible without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet was sent away, from Mecca. When he reached Juhfa, which is the midway between Mecca and Medina, he turned his face, back to Mecca, and the tears started coming, from his holy face. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did reveal at that point, not after it, إِنَّ الَّذِي فَرَضَ عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لَرَدُّكَ إِلَى مَعَادٍ. You read it in tafsir. How long did it take, to return back to Mecca, conquering Mecca as if you want to call him Fatih or whatever, How long did it take him? 8 years. Which is in our physical count, it's impossible, to happen. This is our Prophet. Our Prophet, he used, whenever you speak, you are Prophet, you have forgiven all of your sins, and we are not similar to you, you'll get really angry. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this great Prophet, to be to follow him, to be our model, to be our symbol, And we should have in all matters, of our life. I'm not telling you that you may have it, within 8 years old, but I'm telling you, you are going to have it, much more faster than your expectation. Okay? Why? And if it did not happen, for one reason or another, that means this is the choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you should have full confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why when the person, came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, seeking an advice from him, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is quite generous, he gave him an advice. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I want one simple word. He said, لا تتهم الله على نفسك. Don't accuse Allah. Okay? And I'm sorry, I went outside a little bit, the text, but this I feel it's too important, to be understood by all of us, إن الله يحمي عبده من الدنيا كما يحمي أحدكم مريضا. See how great is this example from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when you love your father, a lot, and he lives with you, and you have your kitchen, filled with candies, and he's diabetic, and out of your love, you'll tell him, sorry, I don't have any candies, in the kitchen. Look in full confidence to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when he took away this nice car that you are aiming at, or this nice house, or this nice girl, or this or that, be confident in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designated to me, and I trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a lot. We should say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. He's our agent, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is? He's our agent. I give this silly example, all the time, okay? If you have an attorney, and you keep calling him, every 5-10 minutes, please don't forget this, don't forget that. What he's going to tell you? He's going to tell you, I'm sorry, my friend, you may find another attorney, I love you a lot, but apparently we are not going to work, in such a thing, But we not only, remind Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of our need, no, we sometimes accuse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, why did you do so? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is really bad, to have this, or whatever. All of these statements, even though it's not going to hurt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we read in the first hadith, إِنَّكُمْ لَن تَبْلُغُوا ضَرِّي فَتَضُرُّنِي وَلَن تَبْلُغُوا نَفْعِي. It's going to hurt me. When I have this bad statement, about Allah, I may be in some level, and I'm going to drop dramatically down, to the ground, and I'm going to have some collision there, and I'm going to break my head, and perhaps all of those exaggerating wording that I'm using, they are much easier than what the Prophet ﷺ said. What did he say? That the person, he may carelessly, he may speak a word and it's going to drop in hellfire, for 70 years. Okay? So, as a Muslim, you should be observer, of whatever you speak. You should be observer of your heart, to what direction is going to go. Okay, you should, besides that, you should be observing, of your deeds, and how do you relate yourself with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how you have your expectation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how you have your thoughts, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why we have been encouraged, by such great ahadith that we are honored, to hear them, and such a statement, coming. And by this great messenger, when you have, always I put it, in mind, I put it as an assumption which is never happened, If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us, an ugly person, he's the lowest, in his character, and everything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to follow him. Do you have any choice without following that person? Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is too kind, is too great. He sent a message, this is indirect message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you look at the nobility of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you look at his character, when you look at how he used to handle these matters, for me, I understand that I have higher expectation, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this, the highest, chosen personality, in the whole world. He sent them, yes, they said in English, that he sent them, or they sent them, for us, just to have this upgrade, in our thoughts, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think we should have a break here for 10 minutes. Inshallah, we'll come. Don't forget to write down your question. I don't know what's the arrangement, to answer this question.